Someone has been arrested in a cheerleader's murder. 16-year-old Lisbeth Medina was found dead in her bathtub in Texas last week. Her mother said she was supposed to be in a Christmas parade, and when she didn't show up, her mother went home, and that's when she found her.
I can't process it right now. Sorry I wasn't there to protect her.
Saturday, cops arrested a suspect and charged him with capital murder, which means he could get the death penalty if found guilty. Medina was a high school cheerleader who wanted to become a nurse.
She loved everybody. She cared for everybody. I wanted to protect her from the world. And I'm just enraged that I couldn't protect her in her own home.
This shit crazy as hell, man. My condolences goes out to that family that lost their beautiful daughter, her beautiful soul, you know what I'm saying? Just for the simple fact, this domestic abuse shit is something that don't get talked about a lot. And it start off with words before it get physical. You know what I'm saying? That's just like if a threat, you can threaten somebody verbally, and then if you go through with this shit, you done fucking committed violence on them. So this guy, this young man who just threw his life away and hurt so many other lives, you know what I'm saying? Like, he about to get the death penalty for what? Like, I hope all this come out on why he did what he did, because this shit just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, he did it. It can't be undone. And, you know, when it's time for justice to speak, it will get served.
Sir, what's wrong?
I'm falling in the bathtub.
Who's in the bathtub?
My wife.
Okay, is she conscious?
She's not. She has to have a position. She's out of the water. I was wondering if we could get an ambulance.
Okay, is she breathing at all?
She's not.
Okay, sir, the ambulance has been paged. They're on their way, okay? Do not hang up.
I need help.
Okay, sir, they're on their way. Is your wife breathing?
So we about to get into a disturbing 911 call. I guess this family of 10 has some crazy stuff happening, but we gonna see what it's like. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, just a review or reaction and the informational channel. Hopefully the informational part help you and someone out, and we just pretty much watch videos and talk about them. Half the time some of the stuff we can relate to, so we, you know, talk to each other about our experiences. But anyway, I don't want to hold this shit up too much, so let's get it.
She is not. I am a physician. I got CPR in progress.
You're doing CPR? You know?
Oh, no,
Sir, how old is your wife?
My wife is 50 years old. She just had surgery here a couple of days or a week ago.
What kind of surgery did she have?
She had a facelift.
She had a facelift?
Yes.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I'm doing it.
Okay, do not hang...
Martin met his wife, Michelle McNeil, previously Summers, at an activity for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints young adults. Michelle was a model and a former beauty queen. After only 4 months of being married, Martin was arrested and charged with forgery, fraud, and theft. He was then released after serving his 6-month sentence. The couple lived in a gated community in Pleasant Grove, Utah, with their 8 children: Rachel, Vanessa, Alexis, Damien, Giselle, Elle, Sabrina, and Ada. The father of 8 was reportedly dissatisfied with his marriage. He often made statements about wanting a divorce. He had at least 2 extramarital affairs in the 2005 to 2007 timeframe, one with Anna Osborne Walthall and another with Gypsy Willis. Michelle's suspicions that her husband was having an affair increased, and she confronted him repeatedly. Months later, Martin presented the idea of having cosmetic surgery to his wife. He pressed for the surgery until Michelle gave in to the idea, thinking it would help her marriage. Martin, a physician at the time, gave the plastic surgeon, Dr. Scott Thompson, a list of drugs he wanted to prescribe to Michelle. A day after the surgery, Michelle was sluggish and unresponsive when one of her daughters, Alexis, tried waking her up. Her father told her he probably over-medicated the woman. Alexis returned to medical school on April 10, 2007, believing that her mother was recovering. The following day, Michelle and Alexis talked at 8:44 a.m., and Michelle said she was doing well. At 9:10 a.m., Martin called Alexis, asking her to call her mother, saying she was concerned that she wasn't doing well and wasn't getting out of bed. Sadly, the 50-year-old had died in the bathtub of her Pleasant Grove home. Investigators ruled that Michelle's death was accidental. The autopsy report also concluded she died of natural causes. Michelle's memorial service was held on April 14, 2007. At his wife's funeral, the doctor spoke about how life had been unfair to him. He only mentioned Michelle in passing. September 2007, a police report was filed alleging Martin fondled his then 24-year-old daughter, Alexis, on 2 occasions 3 months after her mother's death. Martin said to Alexis, "I thought you were your mother." According to
So you not only tell the doctor what to prescribe your wife, but you also doing this creepy, weird, nasty, sick stuff to your kid. Now, I know for a fact you gotta go down for something just because you don't do nothing like this towards anybody, definitely not towards a woman or your kid, because that is so sick as fuck and incest and nasty, and you done murdered your wife, so you know that wasn't your wife.
the reports, in May 2007, Alexis was asleep in her parents' bed when she was awakened by her father caressing her and kissing her hand. He was supposed to be sleeping on the couch. When questioned by police, McNeil claimed that a person could not be held accountable for his actions while he's asleep. Criminal charges were filed, dismissed, then later refiled. In 2009, Martin was arrested and sentenced to 4 years in prison for fraud. He had used the identifying information from his adopted daughter, Giselle, to obtain false legal documents for his girlfriend, Willis, in Giselle's name. Willis owed substantial sums to the Internal Revenue Service, and Martin wished to avoid any possible liability for these debts. Willis was indicted on 11 similar charges. McNeil was later released in July 2012 from a federal prison in Texas. The children of Michelle and Martin McNeil questioned their mother's cause of death and insisted on reviewing the toxicology report. The revised autopsy report included drug toxicity as the cause of death. The autopsy report highlighted that Michelle would not have been able to administer the medication to herself. Utah prosecutors moved to file charges of murder and obstruction of justice against McNeil. On trial, prosecutors worked to convince the jury that Martin McNeil was responsible for killing his wife. McNeil's defense team argued that the father could not have killed his wife because he had an alibi. However, the prosecutors believed that his alibi was part of his sinister plan. On November 9, 2013, McNeil was found guilty of the first-degree murder of his wife. He was also convicted of obstruction of justice for hindering the investigation of his wife's murder by attempting to make Michelle's death appear accidental. In addition to the murder trial, Martin was found guilty of forcible sexual abuse of his daughter, Alexis Summers. 2.5 years into his sentence, McNeil committed suicide in prison on April 9, 2017. He was found lifeless in an outside yard near the prison's greenhouse. According to reports, the doctor used a hose and a natural gas line that was in place as a heater for the greenhouse to take his life.
Well, it looked like his day came because he killed himself, murdered himself, and hung himself. And that's sad that, the kids ain't got no parent. A father who's supposed to be the protector, the provider, all that shit, was very mentally disturbed and sick, where he couldn't even be there for his kids. And even if it was a simple overdose or whatever the reason they said that, it could have been, which we know the husband killed her. Man, that's crazy, man. Domestic abuse, domestic violence, man. Too much is going on when you talk about this subject, and there do need to be a lot of light shined on it.